A ghost and some cocaine. He could feel himself slipping. It was always worse when he was tired. The world would begin to twist and distort, like slipping sideways through a mirror. Reality sliding through his fingers like smoke, mixing with whatever was on the other side of that coin. "Hey, are you listening to me?" Elizabeth demanded. He took another drag on his cigarette, and tried to focus on the body in the alleyway, on what Elizabeth was saying. Elizabeth was the one thing that never distorted. Maybe it was because she was a ghost, but he wasn't certain, seeing as she was the only one he'd ever encountered. He didn't know how she came to haunt him. Maybe it was because he loved in what had been her room, although he'd been there for several years before he saw her. He knew from her that there were other ghosts around, including that of the murdered girl lying in front of him, but for some reason she was the only one he could see or communicate with. She definitely came in handy, especially for a detective, even if he was only half sure she wasn't another hallucination all on her own. His men hustled around the alley, looking for evidence, keeping back the gawking crowd. One of them was saying something but he couldn't catch the words. He gave a non-committal grunt which seemed to be good enough as an answer. There was too much noise, the people talking, rain hitting the cobbles like a gong. A flash of cold shot through him as Elizabeth's spectral hand passed through his face, shocking him back into focus. It wasn't the first time she'd had to slap him, when he got like this. "You're slipping, I can tell," she said, spectral hands now on her spectral hips. "Get it together. We've got a murder to solve." She was right, this wasn't working. He tossed the butt of his cigarette into a puddle and took out the small gold vial of powder he always carried. He emptied a bit onto his smallest finger, brought it to his nose and inhaled. The physician had prescribed it, along with the cigarettes, for focus. He hadn't told him about the visions, obviously. The way the world blurred and swam. Just that he needed to remain sharp on lack of sleep. He didn't want to end up in Bedlam, after all. "Right," he said as the world became sharper and stopped twisting at the edges. "Let's get to it then." Maybe he belonged in Bedlam, really. But he had a murder to solve, and he knew after that there'd eventually be another one. And another. He might be mad, he definitely was mad, but he was the best for solving murders, and he wasn't about to stop. So he would just keep staving off insanity for as long as possible, and all he needed to do it was a ghost and some cocaine. Inspired by this r/Inspirabot post.